Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to acknowledge that I am indeed the oldest member of this legislature. That might have been for Senator Conyer. I really remember when Senator Papa George, and I could say he's the oldest member of the Senate, but he bounced around a lot more than I do. I think maybe being military helped him with all the activities. So let me start with, in the beginning, 14 years ago, many of us in this room came together for the first time, full of excitement, anticipation, pride, and ready to work hard for our respective parts of our state. Our first meeting as a caucus was to elect the next leadership, and I drove down, not knowing very many of the legislators, and walked into a room that I think it was Representative DeRoche or maybe Senator or Representative Huizinga that directed me to a table. At that table was 3 people that I didn't know at all. Those legislators were John Garfield, John Pastor, and the Honorable Jack Brandenburg. Now, when I got to that table and sat down afterwards, I said, holy smoly, this is what a legislator is all about. And those guys were amazing people, and I got to know them very well. But they seemed to say this was the way the legislature really works. And those were my first 3 people that I was seated with. Quite a mix of individuals. And I wasn't quite sure about this new role of being a legislator. My first term in the House, Bruce Caswell was my mentor. I was assigned there. Now you all know why. I always have so many questions. And Bruce, I want you to know that from time to time, all those questions have gotten me in trouble. Next, we were assigned a seatmate, which happened to be in the House. There was 3 of us, Representative Green, Representative, now Senator Hansen, and I. What a group. I want to share a story because after the first session, and I was at the outside row, Representative Hansen and I changed places because that guy, you couldn't keep him in the seat. And in the middle, he's sitting in the middle, and he's in and out of there, out of that seat. So he moved to the outside, but we became good friends, not only from legislative and being down here, but family-wise. And Jeff, thanks for all your friendship. I will tell you one more story about Jeff. I was going up to the mic to make probably what I thought was an important speech. And I get up to the mic, and I look out, and Jeff is giving me all kinds of gestures, waving his arms, pointing at me, and I'm thinking, what the world is wrong? So when I'm done with my very important speech, I thought, I walk up to him and I said, Jeff, what's the heck is wrong? He said, Darwin, when you got up, your suit coat hooked over your belt and your pistol is hanging out right in front of everybody. Oh, Jeff, okay, thank you very much. But true story, yeah, my gun was exposed to the world that day. I would like to say a couple of words about my roommate for 8 years, Jim Marlowe. Now, Jim, we become friends over 8 years of living together out here in Dell Road. But I want to tell you all something. We don't all look the same in the morning when we get up. I would tell you that. I think the first thing that both of us should do is get our suit and tie on, because we don't look too good getting ready, Jim. Do we? No, not very, very good. And I have to say a word about Tom Casperson. We have worked on so many forest, land management, PILT, and trust fund bills with our staff, Kendra and Kara. And I want to tell you, Tom, your dedication in public service, your people are more than proud of what you've done for your people. Now a little bit about my start into politics. I think now it's easy to go back in time and say what really got you into politics, but during my time in high school, I broke my leg 4 different times. Now that probably doesn't surprise many of you, that I might break myself up on something. But in high school, I broke it skiing, and I broke it playing football, and I broke it playing basketball, and I dropped the plow on it. And so I spent most of my time there. So I ran for student council as a junior, won, ran for president of student council, won, ran for president of JC's, won. And at 34, I decided to run for supervisor of the township. So when I made that decision to run, I went up to get my support from my father. And he didn't even ask me anything other than, what party are you running on? And I said, Dad, I'm running Republican. Well, he's a Franklin Delano Roosevelt hardcore Democrat, my father is. And he didn't say anything but pointy finger, push me in the chest and say, Darwin, I'll never cast a vote for you. And that was my own father. So that's how I started out. That's how I started out in politics, for crying out loud, not even having my own dad's support. Now I believe over time he did vote for me, but I held that position. And when I end this year, I'll have 42 years in public service, 28 in the township and 14 here, so 1 year longer than I was a banker, in fact. Now I want to acknowledge my family. My wife, Jan, has been my partner in life, including all my political years. We were married 54 years this year. To that point, her dad was deputy sheriff when I met her, went on to be sheriff, and he wasn't too keen on me, a kid from Everett that wore his hair in an afro, and did not look at all like I look today with my hair shaved down. But we had it in a big, and he wasn't impressed, I'm telling you. It took years to get his confidence in me. But she worked in the parades, she worked countless hours driving me around, and I tell you, I can't say enough about my wife. Along with her, my children, my grandchildren, are my pride and my joy. They have been by my side through all these life experiences in my politics. My daughter, Kim, now serving as circuit court judge, and her husband, RJ, my 2 grandchildren, Logan and Madison, my son, Chad, who's in the audience, who has started his political life as well in this township supervisor, and his wife, Amy, and their 3 children, Andrew, Christian, and Jacob, who are here today in the audience, in the East Gallery. My son Jason, and my daughter Miko, and her son Aiden. They have all spent countless hours on the campaign trail with me and been a source of strength and support during my time in office. I am proud of each and every one of them. I hope that they will recognize one day that the 14 years I spent down here, and they grew up before my eyes, that we were doing it for them as well. My hope was that they would have a job and be able to raise their family in this great state of Michigan. Now I want to recognize my staff. When I started, Emily Ponce was with me, and then Cynthia Wells. Cynthia, if you'll stand up. She both have helped to keep me on my schedule, and was not an easy job, and kept our office running, and did a great job for me and the citizens of the 35th Senate District. I can't say enough, and thank you for all you did. Ryan Winberg served as my first legislative director, and soon into the first term was called into the ministry. Many of you will remember that he is now serving a church, and earlier this year opened the Senate with his invocation. Next, Kara Butters Ackerman took that role and has done a great job from day one. Senator Casperson and I have had the Butter twins, both working as our legislative directors for more than 7 years. Right now, it is pretty easy to tell them apart. But that certainly isn't always has been the case. And Casperson and I could switch Kara and Kendra back and forth on our issues and all work together. And I don't think you even knew when we were switching back and forth for one reason or another. Kara has done an amazing job working on my legislation and helping prepare me for our work on appropriations. And of course, our office has benefited from so many butter bakery delights over the years. Thank you for that. Next is Tom Smith. Started on my campaign in my first House election. I hired him from day one, and he has been faithful and diligent in his work with the constituents. Day in and day out, he has taken the time to listen to the issues and then work tireless on finding solutions. Tom, if you'll stand up, thank you very much for all your help and support from day one. And finally, my Chief of Staff, Patrick Teed. Having a staff member for an entire legislative career is not very common. And I have been fortunate to have both Tom and Patrick since day one in the House. However, Patrick and I go further back to when I hired him at the bank. We have been working together for nearly 22 years now. He was a junior in high school when I hired him to come to work at the bank. Now, I'm pretty sure that I was worried more than he when he quit his job at the bank to run my first campaign. But it worked out, and it has been a great, great partnership. We have traveled the district together from one end to the other over and over again. We have done hundreds and hundreds of events together. At this point, I want to do something. I have to clear it with my wife today if I want to do something, but I also have to clear it with Patrick. So 1-2 punch, always. Many of the senators have talked about how they have the best staff. Patrick, I'd like you to stand up and take a bow. Patrick Teed, thank you for all your support and your guidance over the years. Madam President, let the record show clearly, reflect that Senator Booher has the best staff. Thank you. Finally, in thank yous, I want to acknowledge the leadership. As many have already said, Majority Leader Meekhoff, we thank you for your leadership and all of the staff we have that help us. But I need to say a special word about the Senate Fiscal Agent staff. Since I have spent my entire legislative career on appropriations, and occasionally I have a question or two. I have kept the fiscal agent busy. Ellen has done a great job and responded remarkably. And I need to say a word about Bill Bowerman. Both these people are retiring, and a lot of nice things were said today already. But he has worked so closely with the two budgets that I chair, Community College and the Joint Capital Outlay. That is, almost feel like I have another staff member in my office. We have traveled to colleges and universities for committee meetings and toured projects. He is dedicated to the point that he travels with me to committee meetings at colleges, even on his birthday, and never said a word. I found out about his birthday, and luckily, I know someone in the cake business, so we were able to celebrate together. He is retiring at the end of the year, and this institutional knowledge will be greatly missed. Thank you, Bill Bowerman, for all you've done for me. Next week, I will retire for the 4th time. I spent 41 years in banking, 28 years as township supervisor, 28 years as the assessor, 68 years farming, and now 14 years as a legislator. This totals 179 years. That is a long, long time. Coincidentally, that is about how old some think I am. Senator Hansen and Senator Conyers talked about young legislators, and I will just say it's good to have a few old bucks around as well. Now, I am not going to talk about legislative accomplishments, but I think some of the bills sponsored have benefited the people of the 35th District and throughout this state. I would just note that I have offered some variety to this institution. Without my legislation, how many of you would have talked about frog gigging or roadkill with your constituents? I can name so many good things for my time in the legislature, but instead, I'm going to name some of my losses. First, I've lost my balance. I have to use a cane. Quite a bit of the time I use that cane to keep from leaning too far to the left. Second, I lost my voice, probably from asking too many questions over the years. Third, I've lost 5 vehicles. State has lost 14 deer. I'm pretty sure that record will stand for years to come. Finally, I have lost 14 years of being close to be able to watch all the events with my grandchildren. I hope they understand that we were trying to do things that we thought we needed to do in the state of Michigan. So I thank my family, I thank my staff for all of the support and the hard work. I wish to thank the voters of the 35th Senate District for their trust and confidence. I have made so many relationships throughout the years. Thank you to each of my colleagues for enriching my life with so many great memories. Thank you all very much.